Hi, I'm Charlie Collins, and this is the Donegal Sport Hub Donegal GAA Championship Podcast. And you're very welcome to our latest podcast here on Donegal GAA Donegal Sport Hub in association with the Naomh Construction Company in Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks to them for their support as always. Again, I'm joined by John, Haran and Danny O'Donnell. We're going to look back at the junior and intermediate finals, and we're going to look forward to the senior finals. We're really at the business end of the championship, of course, with new champions at junior level, Naomh, and at intermediate level, Downings. John, I'm going to start with the Junior A final. Naomh 15, Moville 110. We were talking about it here over the last couple of weeks, and particularly last week, saying 50-50, 50-50. That's kind of the way it turned out, a cracker of a game, and I suppose Naomh just shown a bit at the end. They deserved to win it.
They did, Charlie, and it was a great game, and fair play to both teams. They went out, Charlie, and they went at it, and they played good, expansive football. At least they tried anyway. At junior level, you're going to get mistakes, but you couldn't fault either team for their effort. Great support for both teams, Charlie. Great atmosphere there, and they kept the crowd interested the whole way through. Yes. In the last 10 minutes, Naomh came good, Charlie. They were under pressure.
They were.
I think Moville will have a lot of regrets. But that's always the way in finals. When you lose, you'll have regrets. And we could have done this, and we could have done that, and we should have done this. But Moville will definitely have regrets, Charlie. They were 2 points up midway during the second half, going well. I think Kieran Diver went through one time, maybe early enough in the second half, 1-on-1 with the keeper. He blazed it over the bar.
Big goal chance.
Bit of composure, Charlie, slip it onto the keeper. Big score for Moville, puts them in the driving seat. But they were still 2 points up, looking good. Coming down the stretch, centre half forward McHugh for Naomh had an easy free, Charlie, and he missed it. And I felt, God, I hope that doesn't decide the game, because it was kind of a sitter for him, and he put it out to the right and wide.
Surprised because he was
going well, and he got man of the match and had a great game. But I just thought, God, I hope that's. But Naomh held on, Charlie, and came good. You know, Adrian Sweeney, people might think had a big influence, but I thought he did, Charlie. He seemed to create space for other players in that last 15 minutes when things got tight. Maybe Moville were paying him too much attention. Adrian was a very smart player, Charlie, an all-star at that level. Now I know he's the same age as me. He's 47, but or 46.
He was pulling people out,
and he seemed to. Adrian would know what he was doing, and it just seemed to create a bit of space, because Adrian Hanlon didn't have his best game. You know, he wasn't getting a lot of change inside. But when Adrian Sweeney came on, whatever it did, it just seemed to create a wee bit more space for Naomh, and they got them few points at the end, Charlie. And when the game was in the melting pot, you know, they took their chances, and you know, they were a point up, Charlie. Moville had to come out. They were trying to close them down. We were down the sideline watching them. The Moville management were getting them to, you know, come out, try and get the ball. They needed to get the ball back off Naomh. Naomh got inside, a rash tackle at the end of the game, and your man puts it over the bar, and that's a 2-point game. So, you know, a point in it to the end and the last kick of the game. So congratulations to Naomh. Like, a great game, Charlie, but Moville will have regrets.
They will, Danny, have regrets, because they didn't get off the best of starts. Naomh were off to a flyer, but they came back with that goal and were really in the game at half time. And then into the second half, as John was saying, the sides were level several times. Then Moville got that lead, and you thought Moville's on the driving seat big time here.
Moville had the lead a couple of times in the second half, Charlie. The 3-point lead, and Naomh clawed it back. And then that big goal chance that John talks about, the Kieran Diver goal chance. I think if Moville take that goal, that's another 3-point gap. Have Naomh got it within themselves, go back a second time, big questions would be asked at that stage. And because Moville were underdogs going into it, momentum with them, crowd with them, they were hard stop, John, if they got that goal at that time. But they didn't take the goal, they got a point out of it. And then it was kind of nip and tuck all the way. But even, it was the 57th minute, Danny Murphy puts Moville a point up. Still looking good in the county final, you know what I mean? But in fairness to Naomh, you know, John talked about their senior players there, Adrian Hanlon and Adrian Sweeney and Daniel Melly at full back. You know, the substitution Declan made towards the end of John Paul McCready coming on as a keeper. Interesting. But see, I say Declan probably thought at the stage that Moville were hanging on, plenty of space out in the field. John Paul McCready's a baller, like he's a footballer. You know, and
he said to me in an interview afterwards, they put him on, they wanted to get ball in hand. You know, because they needed the ball in hand at that particular time, and it worked out well.
And he turned to experience too, Charlie. You know, he had all the experienced men on the pitch, but the winning of the game for Naomh wasn't the experienced men, it was the young men, it was the young lads. It was Oisin Caulfield, it was Killian Bonner inside, scored 3 points. McHugh at centre forward scored 6 in total, 4 frees. It was the young lads, it was their time to step up, because the old lads have carried them for long enough, you know. And the one thing about the Naomh club, they don't let you retire, because they can't afford to have you retire. And there's probably a lesson there for other clubs that as long as you're able to play football, keep playing it, because you're needed. You know, whatever team it might be, could be your senior team, could be your reserve team, whatever team it is. And they hang on to those players, and I mean, they haven't had huge success over the years. They won the junior in 82, they won intermediate sometime in the 90s, so that's all they kind of won in terms of championships.
Yeah.
So this was a huge win for them at the weekend. And to win a final coming from behind, getting the last couple of scores, is a brilliant way to win a final.
Yeah.
It's a
fantastic.
it's a great, it's a real buzz when the final whistle blows. And look, all credit to them. There's lads coming home from London for games. The 34 men togged out. And they got promotion this year to Division 2. The 3 Rosses clubs are the same division next year, so the crack could be.
Yeah, very
it's
good.
been a long time since that happened, Charlie. So
hopefully
they won't revamp the leagues on us. But I think all the clubs will look forward to those games down at home. So, but huge credit to the Rossa. Huge credit to them because championships are hard won, Charlie. And I thought they were in his favourites, and I said that, but I thought Moville would really rattle them.
Yeah,
and Moville did, and they were in a winning position. But the Ross's experience and younger players stood up to the plate. And the brave call for the management on the sideline as well, get John Paul McCready on. They weren't going to be leaving Larry Kenny with excuses or regrets.
No.
They were throwing the whole kitchen sink at it, and they got the result, and fair play to them.
Yeah, and we have to talk about the Declan Bonner factor. John, does he need this at this stage, having managed the way he did and played the way he did for so long? But I mean, his commitment to the club as chairman and as manager in the last couple of years has been unbelievable. And as I say, nobody would blame him if he walked away and said, I've done my bit.
Charlie, 100%, but that's, Declan Bonner's na Rossa first, he's Donegal second, and he's probably a family man third. Even, na Rossa, that's just Declan, and all the Bonners have given great service. But, for a county, inter-county manager, to Declan to retire and then to say, I'll go back to my club in the bottom rungs of Donegal football at junior level, and say he'd give it a. But I would say the people in the Rossa thought he would do it. I say they'd be surprised if Declan didn't do it, because that's the kind of they know Declan and they know what it means to him. And as Danny said, when you have Declan Bonner coming in as manager, Cherry, no disrespect to anyone else in the Rossa, but them boys mightn't have come back from London. Adrian Sweeney mightn't have got him to play this 1 year. Hanlon, things like that. So a big name like Declan, although he's one of their own, he can command that respect and get them things and maybe get a bit of money together and pay for the flights, because it's not easy, Cherry. Like, they're a small club, one of the smallest clubs in Donegal, and
he said himself they nearly tipped out.
Folded.
John,
Well, they did, Cherry, and it's a lesson to a lot of other clubs. As Danny said, that you have to hang on to your players, and you have to work, Cherry. At the end of the day, like, it's their identity. You're from the Rossa. Declan Bonner's in the Rossa. Wherever he goes, he won an All-Ireland with Donegal, but his club's in the Rossa. How are the Rossa getting on? Oh, they're still junior, they're intermediate. I said to some of the boys around the town, Terry, in 20 years' time, I don't want to be coming out of Cumhaill Park and someone saying, just what happened, Unions? You have never won a championship in so long, and you've fallen off. And that can happen, clubs, no matter if you're big or small, Charlie. Happen good clubs. And, so I'm sure that, Declan doesn't want that to happen to the Rossa. They didn't want to fold. And there's other clubs around the county that need to look at themselves and get back and put the effort in, because you don't do it, Charlie, without hard work. There's bigger towns and bigger parishes in the Rossa who are struggling. And all right, we can all make excuses about people going away or young fellas going to Australia. They don't have jobs. There's not many jobs in the Rossa. It's they don't, but they got them together, Charlie, and they kept them together. And 10 out of 10. And Declan Bonner, that'll mean as much to Declan as anything he's ever won. And as you say, and Cherry, in the emotional interview, fair play to them. And it's a fairy tale, Cherry, because they were on the brink. They would say that themselves. They were finding it hard to get a team out, but they've got their act together, and just through hard work, Cherry, and people putting in the effort and getting it together and getting the boys out. And fair play to them.
Fair play to them. And Danny Moville, we'll just have a word about them. Pat McLaughlin and John Quite coming in, and fantastic season. I know they're hugely disappointed to lose a final, but for them to get to the final in the first place with all that's gone on, some achievement.
Yeah, a huge achievement, Charlie. But at the same time, and I said this last week, they had played Division 2 football a couple of years ago, so they weren't coming from nowhere, and they do have a base of good players, always had.
Yeah.
The one thing Moville produce are good footballers. Now, they have a huge soccer tradition down in that neck of the woods, but that means you have footballers in that neck of the woods, and it's about somebody coming in then and harnessing all of that. So obviously the two lads that come in have done that. So the big challenge for Moville will now be, is that your threshold, making a junior final, coming up short against the Rossa? Or do you sit down now over the winter and say, boys, we're going to come back next year and win it? Because losing it is a hard pill to swallow, but if you have genuine belief that you can win it the year after, it should be easy motivation. It should be easy to pull a group together and say, even keep Pat McLaughlin and John Quigg involved, because they walk away, the excuses are there for 1 or 2 players to say, well, the management didn't stay on, so I'm not going to put the shoulder to the wheel. But if they commit, I think it's an easy sell to players then to say, look, we were close last year. What can we do now over the winter to close the gap and drive on again next year? Because there will be good teams down there. Like Naomh got relegated from the Intermediate Championship. They'll be a junior next year. Convoy will be knocking on the door again. The Conaill will be as strong. Unions could be stronger again. So championships are difficult to win, Charlie. So when you have a team that you think can win it, you don't have excuses again. You just go for it again next year, or otherwise you slip back.
Absolutely. Junior B final will have to be replayed at the weekend. Robert Emmett's 2-4. Convoy 1-7 was the final score in that one. And I have to say that Convoy gifted Robert Emmett's 2 goals in the second half, 2 very poor defensive mistakes. But anyway, they're going to get another chance. That game's scheduled for the weekend. We'll just confirm it a little bit later in the programme. Right, John, let's move on to Sunday. Again, we were talking about Downings and Malin. It's going to be very tight. We looked at their league form, Danny. We looked at their quarterfinals, their semi-finals. There was nothing to indicate that either one would run away from the other. And John, that's exactly the way that turned out. Maybe Downings just about deserved it, but Malin were right there with them.
Just about, Charlie. Nothing in it again. And as Danny said last week, the winner gets the narrative of the story, and everything they did was right, and the switches the management made was right, and the matchups were right, and everything went right, and the loser, got things wrong. The truth is very, very much in between, and as you say, Terry, there was nothing between the teams. Downing's certainly a wee bit better, not a lot, but they had their, they took their chances, Terry. They got their scores a wee bit easier than Malin. I think Malin they tired a lot in the second half. They were working very hard to try and get back to stop Downings, and then when they did turn them over or they want to kick out, they seemed to find it very hard to get back up the pitch within scoring distance to get a quick score away. It was all under pressure in the second half. Downings worked so hard, Terry got men back, and as I said last week, a wee bit of quality in the Downings forwards I thought would get them through, and I was right.
Yeah. You were. I must say, almost 10 points the full forward line scored out of 11.
Yeah.
And after the game, Danny, I went down to do an interview with Johnny McGrady, and a voice said to me, "Yes, Charlie, how's it going?" And I said, "Oh, Loughran, well done. You had a great game there. Congratulations." John Haran's the only one who knows anything about football. He says he's the only one tipped us. Yeah, so I was delighted to hear somebody saying something positive.
That's good, Charlie. That's good.
At least they're listening, Charlie.
As John said there, maybe in the latter stages, Malin, because I'm just looking, they went 8-7 up. I think Christie scored a point from a free, maybe to put them 8-7 up at a key time in the game. The last 10 minutes, it was 4-1 to Downings. That was the winning of it, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the winning of the game, Charlie, was based. I agree with John says about Downings got more out of their inside forwards. I thought Loughran Connor. I thought he was man of the match, to be honest with you. I thought his influence was huge in the game. He was able to get ball in around the D, take his man on, draw free kicks that Johnny McGrady hit even from distance at times. Yeah. Whereas in the Malin forward line, I thought a lot of the heavy lifting was having to be done by the Malin forwards. Christy Faldara, I thought, had a massive game. He was not running for the man of the match. He carried them on his own a wee bit at times. Josh Collin was coming very deep. Conor O'Neill was coming very deep. Yeah. So the Malin forwards were having to come very deep and then carried up the field. The one thing that Malin, I think, lacked on the day was maybe that dynamic, athletic half-back line to get onto the ball, get them to that middle third, so you could afford to leave your 1 or 2 forwards up the field. Downings had that in Alan Kosoma, in Keelan McGrady. They were able to get on the ball around midfield and take it up towards, get on McGrady on first, and then he could look inside. Loughran Connor was showing hard. Michael Louis was showing hard. They scored 10 points between them in that full forward line. Right, between 3 of them. So
they delivered.
They delivered, yeah. And another big issue that Downings or that Malin had as well, I was looking at the kickouts over the course of the game. I think over 60% of the kickouts were won by Downings. So that means they have a lot of on the front foot ball in the game, which means you can get your forwards on it that wee bit easier. But having said all that, I mean, in that last 5 minutes, I know Kevin Cookie said that they thought they managed that game well in the last couple of minutes. I didn't think they did. I thought they conceded, lost possession a couple of times, allowed Malin to come up the pitch, and Laurie ball after ball in on top of them. One, I think, hit the post. Another one was scrambled away. And then that last shot by Sean Kelly could have gone anywhere. Could have been in the top corner. Yeah. And I do think they missed, I talked last week about the Matthew Byrne, Ronan Gallagher matchup, how would that play out? Downings, I thought Ronan Gallagher was a wee bit lost in the first half. He didn't know whether to go deep onto Matthew Byrne or sit around the number 6. And I thought Matthew had a big influence on Malin's performance in the first half. he got that score before half time to get back to 6-5 or something, or 5-4, I'm not sure which.
6-5.
And then I thought then, he obviously tired, he's in his mid-30s. I thought when Malin needed that bit of guile in the last 5-10 minutes, maybe a diagonal ball outside the boot, something that those two big forwards, Big Shimons Houghton, could go up and compete rather than try and break. He wasn't there to deliver that. So, the margins were that tight. It's all hindsight when you look back on things. But the one thing, and I know Michael Byrne referenced it after the game, and even watching it, Malin left everything out on the field.
Yeah.
There were no regrets in terms of they didn't. I think they did perform and they gave the effort. And the one thing they probably will regret is they couldn't get level in those last 5-6 minutes. And had they got level, the support they had in the stands would have lifted them, and they may have been the team to go on to win it. But Downey's kept that 2-point gap all the time. Malin got back to a point, back out to 2 points. And another big factor I think as well was Downings have experience of playing in finals. They won the junior 2 years ago. They have experience of playing in Gaeltacht junior county finals and All-Ireland finals. And that stands to you when it comes down the stretch. And I think that was a factor. I think Malin's first real big final in a long time. I know the league final last year. A lot of excitement around the parish. So it wasn't as big a deal down in Downings, if you know what I mean, in terms of the build-up. And listen, you've got to give credit to Kevin Cookie as well, to turn around and bring in SP Barrett from the neighbouring club to come in and do the coaching. He obviously saw something that I think the players might have wanted him in. So that's a brave call for any manager to make, to bring somebody in to do the coaching. But it also is a sign of intent that we will do whatever it takes, lads, to give you lads a chance to perform next season. And huge credit to everybody involved. It's junior champions 2 years ago, Charlie. Intermediate champions now.
Big step up to senior. John, the Intermediate Championship delivering again in 2023, you'd have to say.
Yes, Charlie, you look at it from the quarter-final stage, but even at the start of it, there's a lot of teams there would think they have an outside chance, but they have a chance. There'll be a couple of teams that think they have a big chance. Then other teams thinking that if they get the right throw or can step it up a bit, that they're well capable of winning it. So a brilliant championship, but Termon will be disappointed. Cherry, they would have ambitions again. They bet Downings easy out in the Burn Road, but that's not knockout football. When it came to it, Downings had that. As Danny said, that experience. They got over the line in the semi-final after extra time. They got over Malin in the final and played some great football, Cherry. But as Danny said earlier, Alan Pasoma, to me, Cherry had a massive game.
Outstanding game.
I thought the amount of ball that he got on and got back and covering and blocks and picked up ball and lengthened. Even the last 10 minutes, I was watching him because he was wearing number 17. But he's covered some ground. Yeah, a right good player. Now you mentioned Ronan Gallagher earlier. He had a good game, but then he pulled the hamstring. I think Malin didn't cop onto it for a while. He was there for the taking. Not that, but just because he was injured, and they kept him on the pitch. But I don't think Malin kind of seen. This man's in trouble. Maybe they did, but he played it well, and then they took him off. So,
See, Malin's big problem was that the forwards, as I said, were
they were very deep. Very deep.
There
was one stage near maybe 10 minutes to go. I looked down and Malin were coming up the field, but Sean Kelly was back, and there was another boy. They had two back that needed to be far further up the pitch now.
And just a final point on Downings, and we've been in here talking before about, and everybody talks about their inside line, but without a solid defence behind that inside line, it doesn't matter because you need to be scoring 18, 19 points. It's their defensive players from half forward line right back to the goalkeeper. They put in big shifts in the final against Termon, against other teams. So we might talk about the three top boys up top, but it's what happens behind that's the platform for it all.
But sorry, Charlie.
Go ahead.
But as you say, for Downings, they were a team that was struggling a few years ago too. They were going bad in Division 4, Danny.
Yeah, they were
going bad in Division 4 and junior and not making any shape. So they've got their act together, Charlie. One junior 2 years ago, one intermediate, now they're in senior. So some lift. And
they have a lot of young talent there, John.
Young talent. So, as I say, Charlie, nothing, only hard work has got them there. So fair play to them, and they're in senior next year, and it's a fairy tale. And I was chatting to someone about it today. There's a few clubs that have gone junior, intermediate, senior, and have done well in senior around the country. I know Clifford's down in Fossa and Kerry. They're in the intermediate final now, and they'll go senior next if they wanted to go senior. But there's other clubs. There was Wolf Tones, that crowd in Meath. They won junior, intermediate,
it's
one senior,
momentum
all the way up.
So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not going to say that they're going to win the senior championship, but they've done what they have to do so far, and they'll be in senior next year.
They've got nothing easy down in Downings in the senior championship match.
No, and they're in Division 1, so fair play to them.
Well done to Downings, well done to Malin, a great campaign as well. The the intermediate B final was the only one-sided game at the weekend actually, with Termon very impressive in their 1-12 to 4 points victory over a disappointing Naomh Columbus side, who I think only scored 2 points in play. Paul Mallon with 7 points got the man of the match in that, and young Mark Gallagher got the goal. Gareth Gallagher came on at half time. I have to say I was impressed with him. I said it to Hugh Harkin afterwards, and he looks a bit of a player. But a big result for Termon after the disappointment of their A team losing out. Delighted to win that.
Another young player there for Termon came on near the end. I think he looks a prospect, Johnny McCafferty.
Aye. Well, he took a long time to come on because he was standing on the sideline for a long time, and we were wondering would he get on, but he did.
He gave me a touch after. He says he didn't congratulate me. I said, what is when he came on? I said I was selling the tickets for the half-time draw.
We were speculating what age he was, Johnny.
He's younger than me, maybe 44.
Is he? He's fit looking.
He's a great servant at Termon. In fairness to Johnny, he's Termon through and through. So
big celebrations in the Lagoon on Sunday night. Anyway, other just C Championship semi-final played at the weekend. It was postponed the previous weekend. McCool's comfortable victors over Glenfin, and they'll play Petticoat in the final on Saturday in Killygordon. That one's at 2 o'clock actually. Petticoat against McCool's, and then that Junior B Championship replay is on at 4 o'clock in Killygordon. That's St Mary's Convoy against Robert Emmett's. Danny, the Naomh ladies nearly did it. Caught at the end of some performance, some score.
Yeah, a brilliant match, Charlie, and our girls gave it as much as they could, but they're up against a good team from Antrim, very good team, and I think it was 2-7 to 2-6. I think our girls by a point, having played against the Breeze, and you thought in the second half with the Breeze they would kick on, but ladies football, very few teams kick the ball. It's very much a running game, and the Antrim girls were very strong runners, and they hit us with 3 goals early in the second half. Now the girls battled away, got back to within 2 points.
2 points at the end up by
5-9
to 4-10.
Listen, ladies football's like that, Charlie. Yeah. It's they all have a real cut at it. There's nobody overly defensive or negative play. They just go at it and they try their best over the 60-70 minutes. But huge crowd down there at the weekend. Big local support, big support from Antrim, and it was great for us as a club to host an Ulster Championship match.
Fantastic.
Look, the ladies for the great season. They won the Tomelia Championship. They'll now prepare to go senior next year for the first. They've been senior League One, but this is now senior championship for the first time. So
big step,
Predator being big step. But hey, listen, they'll go for it. They'll go for it. Yeah, they'll go.
Good for them. Now, just one other thing before we move on: the under-13 finals, Division 1 Cup and 2, 3, 4 Cup. We were talking a lot about 4 Masters here last week at Underage, John. Now we have to talk about Glenswilly, because for the first time, Danny, we were talking about it, an underage title for them, a Division 1 Cup for them. 2-12 to 3-7, 18 points to 16. Cracker of a match, apparently. Great performance by the Glenswilly.
I know, Charlie. We got a few phone calls today to make sure we mention them.
For sure.
We won't, but
we don't not.
Fair play them, Charlie. It's a very good Glenswilly team, and we all know how good 4 Masters are at Underage. And Glenswilly were well ahead in that game. I think they had 2 goals near the end that made it exciting. But they had a great game earlier on in the year in the league final. I think it was a cracker, and Glenswilly won that too. So, now fair play to Braca there. He's the manager, John McFadden, and I think Jared McGrenna helps him out a wee bit, the coaching, but I think we have to give most of the credit to Braca. Fair play to Braca.
Jared will be very happy with that.
Just on a wee side note on that, Charlie, I was out at the Glenswilly Senior Championship match. I'm not sure what one of the first games out in the Glen this year was, and at half time, I think it was their under 8s came on.
Yes,
they kind of an
they did. You're
game,
right, they did.
And I was down watching it, and Gary McDade was with them, and all the the senior players, Joe Young, and I watched some. Even at that age, you could see the steely determination. There was boys going into tackles that you wouldn't see at senior level. So there's a lot of work going on. They've a decent population out there, a lot of kids coming through. So the future's bright for Glenswilly and other clubs that are putting the effort. I mean, it's all about work.
But that's it. I mentioned it already. I'll say it again. Like, it's work.
Yeah.
There's no substitute for work and getting people involved in underage teams and putting the time and effort in, because you don't grow players on threes. Like boys might be naturally talented, but you have to put in the coaching with them and bring them to games and get the parents involved in the whole. It's a big effort. Jerry, I'm involved now with underage and students, and it's a big effort to try and get it right and to try and, because you're competing with the soccers and the rugbies and the athletics and everything else and the hurling, and and
do enough former players get involved, because you go to Glenswilly, it's former players are involved with all that,
and same in Naomh Conaill, and you see it, Jerry. It's a whole club thing that people at the top. I'm the chairman, but there's other people there too. You have to maybe ask people maybe people think it's a closed shop. So there's a whole layer of things that have to be right, and they can be infighting in clubs, and people can fall out, and it can be difficult. But that's what I mean, Terry. It has to be done right. People have to try and be there for the right reasons, and everyone's there for the right reasons. But people will fall out over different opinions. How you should be on, or my son should be on, or your son's no good, or he doesn't come to training, he goes to soccer, and he should get on. So there's it's not easy, but. The clubs that are putting the effort in and have good structures and have templates, Terry, that this is the way we're going to do it, and we kind of have a systems in place or structures in place that is fair for everyone, and then you try and get the young fellas out and get them involved and build it, because 10 years doesn't be long going in, and so someone that's under 10 now is going to be your senior player. They're going to be 20 in 10 years time, and it's only
I know all about it, John. Don't remind me how quick it goes.
So there's no substitute, Cherry, for hard work and all these teams that are successful.
I'll just mention the other teams that won their division cups as well. Muff beat Termon 2-9 to 2-6. Letterkenny Gales beat St Knolls 4-8 to 6 points in Division 3.
Yeah.
And Division 4 was won by Burt, who beat Naomh Conaill by 3-10 to 1-15 in a cracker of match. So a good mixture of teams there. A couple of Inishowen teams taking the division cups. All right, lads, we're going to move on now. Of course, Sunday sees the Senior B final between Gaoth and Rua at 1:45, and of course then followed by the big event on the calendar, the senior final of the Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure Championship, Gaoth versus Naomh Conaill. Danny, I'll start with you. Gaoth, I was up at the press conference. I was MC at the press conference last Friday night, and it's interesting just listening to the lads, and Rowan McNeil is very steady in his views, and I did an interview with Neil McGee that'll be up on the website now in the next few days, basically saying, right, we haven't been brilliant through the championship, but we're in the final, and I suggested to both of them that the 2 games against Dunlow probably was a watershed for them, 1-1-0 down in Dunlow, and then by 1 point, and then the same in Cloughanneely as well, and they had that crazy game against Ardra in the quarterfinals. But I got the sense that they feel, right, we're taking on probably the best club team in the county, without a doubt, Naomh Conaill, but we've got a chance.
I've no doubt they believe they have a chance. No doubt about it, because if you look at themselves, even as a club, their tradition, they don't make as many county finals as they would like. Go back, I think 2002 was their first county final in a long time. 78 was the previous one.
Yeah.
They won it in 02, they won it in 6, they won it in 18, lost in 19. So they've been in 4 finals since 02. In the same period, Naomh Conaill have been in 12 finals. But they haven't won them all either. They've lost 5 and won 6.
No, that's right.
So that last stat of that Naomh Conaill losing finals, I think Gaoth have to look at that and go, okay, we're not coming up against, like I've said in here before, Naomh Conaill are the best club team I've seen. But it's to do with their longevity and the fact that they keep coming back year after year after year. But they haven't blown teams away in county finals. And the 6 that they've won 3 by a point, 1 by 2 points, 1 on penalties, and then they beat Killybegs by 10 points back in 2010. The finals they've lost, which they've lost 5, they've lost by a combination of 27 points.
Yeah.
So Naomh Conaill haven't always performed on county final day. So from a Gaoth point of view, they've got to think about how, okay, this might be another one of those days where Naomh Conaill aren't at it. Because if you look back at the semi-final against St Eunan's, and as much as they were very, very good defensively and put in a really massive performance, are you guaranteed to get the points they got that day every day you go out? I'm not so sure. No. It's not like the point that John O'Malley got early in the second half inside the forward line, cut inside his man over the bar. Yeah. That score is far better for you as a coach than the one 40 yards out.
Anthony
because
Thompson kicking it from 45 yards.
Yeah, so because the O'Malley one means you're up in the top end of the field, you're getting the ball inside, you're not depending on glory scores. I'm not saying that Naomh Conaill are depending on that at all. Just saying on the basis of the Union's game, they got quite a number of those, but the players are capable of the same again. But you asked me about the Gaoth thing. Gaoth will believe they have a chance, because if you look at the players they have, I mean, we all know about their kind of star names. Oran McNeilis, Ethan Harkin's having a big season, Niall Friel, McFadden, you have the 2 McGees in through them. The big question for me is Michael Carroll fit? Is Michael Carroll available to them? Have they approached Cian Mulligan to bring him home from wherever he is on his travels? Is that something you could do as a club on a county final day? Absolutely. If he can come home, have they approached him? Is he coming home? If he appears on Sunday, that's a player, that's a massive player for them. Gavin McBride seemed to pick up a knock in the semi-final. Does Kieran Gillespie feature? If Kieran Gillespie features, does he pick up Charles McGuinness? which might free Neil McGee to pick up McDyer, who always plays well on county final day, or O'Malley. So there's a lot of things that we don't know about Gaoth because there's just question marks over who's available to them. But they're coming into the county final slightly under the radar, haven't really played any of the big guns to get here. But Gaoth have done this before, John, you know this. They've done this before in county final. They come in against the favourites and they get a big crowd behind them and they bring something to the game. You know, they're a proud club. They're a proud bunch of players. The McGees will be driving them. McGees are there since 2002. We talked with the Conaill boys there since 2005. Eamon and Neil are going for their 4th county medal. And in Naomh McNeilis, they have the genuine, classy player in their club. He is the guy, if he turns up on Sunday and produces something that we've seen before, then they're well in the game. But for me, for Gaoth is, and this is going back to maybe the units approach in games against New Conaill. When Gaoth go into this game, let's say they lose this game, right? Well, do they want to lose it on New Connell's terms or will they lose it on their own terms? So what are they going to bring to the game? Are they going to challenge New Conaill and go at them and run hard at them like Sadar O'Boyle, Ethan Harkin? Are they going to play direct ball into Eamon McGee? Eamon McGee was superb against McCool's on just winning simple ball in front of his man, comes out hard to win it, lays it off. Now, New Conaill will target that, try and stop all that. But for me, Gaoth have to bring something different to what, say, units have brought in the last couple of games that we've seen New Conaill play. But then on the Conaill side of it, I have a feeling that we'll see a slightly different New Conaill approach on Sunday. I think a lot of the stuff we've seen in the last number of years has been geared around St. Eunan's and them always feeling to meet them in a semi-final or a final. Yeah, I think New Conaill could come off the leash a wee bit on Sunday and really chase down the Gaoth kick out, try to win ball high up the field and go hard at Gaoth. Because I think that's in their armoury, clearly. And I think sometimes they sit back more defensively against the likes of St. Eunan's. I don't think they'll fear Gaoth as much. And that could make it a really open type game, which Gaoth might want. So New Conaill might close that down anyway. They will. But to me, you asked me the question to Gaoth. I think Gaoth believe they have a chance. Yeah, but the players they will have a chance, yeah.
Just before I come to you then, John, I spoke to Ronan McNeilis up at the press launch last Friday night and just asked him about where they were at and how he felt about them in the final. This is what he had to say to me. Gaoth back to a final again, just looking at the history books. Ulster Club champions back in 2018, then that trilogy against Naomh Conaill the year after that, and I think as Neil said earlier on, that those matches could have went either way. The third one, Naomh Conaill proved to be the best, but not much from Gaoth since. So is it reasonable to say this is a big deal back in the county final after that gap?
Yeah, probably those 3 games maybe knocked the stuffing out of Gaoth senior team for a few years was probably hard to take. I think every year since then it's been Naomh Conaill or Picard that have knocked Gaoth out of the championship. We were lucky to avoid those sorts of teams in the knockout stages this year, and we found ourselves in the final again against Naomh Conaill. So it's going to be a right proper match because I think those 3 games in 2019, you know. But it's massive for the club to be back in the final. I think the 2 teams in the final is really something special and something that everyone should be proud of in the club.
Yeah, the group stages weren't that brilliant for you. You know, you started off with a good one against McCool's, then lost down in Haran, then finished up with that very narrow victory over Donegal. Things have improved since, but was there a learning process there?
Yeah, as you say, McCool's the first game was a good performance. We were happy, and then up to Haran, and Haran gave us a right hammering in the league as well. So we knew exactly what we were up against up there, and they hit us to the sword again. Then we got 2 derby matches, which is unusual. Conaill at home and Donegal away. And I think especially the 2 Donegal games really was a learning for us. It was 2 really tight games, and we came out the other end with a 1-point win both days. So, you know, it's always good to win those games. A few, 1 or 2 boys remarked that they're the games they like winning. It's not the games you win comfortably. So there was great learning in those 2 games.
Will they make enough to you in terms of this year?
Oh yeah, it's great to win those games, and it gives younger lads, I suppose, confidence as well that you can win those games. In the league, we lost a lot of those games. For whatever reason, we just lost those games. But in the championship, then we turned around and won 2 tight games, so that was great. And even then, our draw, it's the maddest game I've ever been involved in. Now we went 7-8 points up and ended up being 6 points down. So even to show the resilience to come back and win that game was great.
Would it worry you that happened in that game, Ronan, and might happen again in another occasion?
Of course, everything worries you as a coach or manager. Everything you're looking at and seeing how you can make it better and improve it for the next year. But that's what training's all about. And you look at the video and you learn from it and you try and fix it down in the training field. So we try to address it, but have we addressed it enough? That's the question.
Yeah. You were left in the preliminary quarterfinals after losing to Aoife. Everybody talked about the big four. You were the odd person out not getting to the big four. But that extra match might have helped you, did it?
Yeah, probably did us no harm. Many's a Gaoth team I've been involved with over the years where maybe we got what would be seen as maybe favourable draws and we went out and we lost. So maybe just no harm in getting that extra game and playing Donegal again and over in Ficara. Nothing like a derby match to get the hearts going and get everyone up for the game and get everyone focused. So yeah, didn't really affect us, but luckily we came through without too many injuries as well. The extra game, the big thing with that is picking up injuries, but there was a few knocks and stuff after Donegal I did expect in a derby game, but nothing too serious.
Yeah. And into a semi-final against an informed McCool's, your best performance of the season, Ronan? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, probably. Probably was alright, especially in the championship. Everyone, you could say, performed at a level that we knew they could. There'd be a few things that would be of concern to us and that we need to get tidied up, but we were happy with the performance. Yeah.
And finally, you're playing what has been the best club team in the county over the last 10 years. By some stretch, Naomh Conaill, a huge task.
Massive. All the finals have been in all, I don't even know, I can't tell one from the other now, they're just there that often for me, apart from the two against Gaoth, but you just know they're always there and always, it's never much in it. So look, we all know how good they are and what they bring to it and what they will bring to it on the day. But Gaoth have a decent history in finals too, so we'll not be afraid and we'll give it our best shot.
We'll look forward to that, Ronan. Thanks for coming up. Now, John, Ronan McNeilis there been pretty sensible about the whole situation. He understands a bit of a rebuilding job there, but obviously they're playing the best team in the county by a stretch if you look at the results and all that sort of stuff. But what's your feeling about the way Gaoth have to approach it, just the points that Danny was making and Ronan was making there?
Yeah, probably would agree with Danny and a few aspects, Charlie. Gaoth will come in with belief. That's in them, I see Martin Call chatting to him at Naomh Park and he'd be slagging me, and Eamon McGee and even Timmy Boyle and Donald Breslin and them older, Charlie Campbell too, Brendan Vinnie's father-in-law. I chat to them, you see them, and you just, it's in their DNA, Charlie. It's in their history. Gaoth are proud. They're at the top of the pile with St Junans on county champions.
15 championships,
and that's in them. So they're not going to go in fearing Naomh Conaill. Now, pragmatics of the game will say they have to set up a certain way and they can't go gun-ho, and Francie and McNeilis will have them well organised. They're going to give themselves a chance. But they'll believe they have a chance, Charlie, absolutely. How they go about it is going to be interesting. For me, I know what Danny's saying, it's interesting that Naomh Conaill might come off the leash a wee bit. I don't know. I think if it's on Naomh Conaill's terms, Charlie, if they get ahead, I think it's so important to them. I know they might fear St Junans a wee bit more. I know what you're saying there, Danny, but I still think they'll back themselves to go back, sit inside the 45, and that they're too experienced against this youngish Gaoth team. That Gaoth will make the mistakes inside the 45. Naomh Conaill will turn them over and they'll attack, and they're brilliant at that there. And they'll run into the open spaces and they'll hit Gaoth in the break and they'll beat them. Now, that's saying that it always, to me, Cherry, Naomh Conaill being ahead 1 or 2 points at any stage in the game suits them. That's where they want to be. If they're chasing it, it means that they have to push up a bit and it leaves more space at the back. Now, certainly, you could say maybe Gaoth's attack isn't as potent as St Junans, but it doesn't matter, Jerry. They're in the final, so I don't mean to keep going on about St Junans here, but I know what Danny's saying, that Naomh Conaill and St Junans have been so close this last few years, and a lot of what they do is to mirror each other. But if Gaoth are ahead and Naomh Conaill have to come out and play and leave space at the back, are Gaoth quick enough? But then Darrell Whelan, them boys are playing well, and Ethan Harkin, so it's going to be interesting, Charlie. But I just think that the experience that Naomh Conaill have at this stage, they they should be able to manage the game and get their kickouts away, do what they want to do, and they back themselves, Charlie, that they'll do it better than Gaoth. But it's interesting, them facts that Danny has, that they've lost 5 finals and won 6. So they have. There's been a mixed bag. There's plenty of days where they haven't. You're right there. They haven't shown up in county final days and have been caught. So Gaoth will have a chance, but just Naomh Conaill have that belief, Cherry, that they can play that way, that they can just hang on by a point and sit back and wait for Gaoth to come inside the 45 and back themselves, that they'll turn them over. Gaoth will make a mistake, they'll give a bad pass, someone will get their kick blocked down, and Ethan O'Donnell and the Dohertys will come onto the ball and they'll just fly up the field. And
look, basically, there's no evidence to suggest that Gaoth should win this game based on the form in the championship, right? Because Gaoth beat the final, they've beat the teams they've beat, but you look at who the Conaill have beat. They've beat all the big guns, bar Gaoth so far. They've beat St Eunice, they've beaten Glennswilly, they've beaten Kilcar, and they've been in the final 7 years in a row. So, there's almost no discussion on it. They are going to be strong favourites going to the final. But, and Martin Regan said this previous, and there's something about the Naomh Conaill boys. They're very, very calm and very assured. They don't panic. We all know that. But he always makes the point is about performance, and if you don't perform, you won't win. So they will still have to do their stuff on Sunday. And they will still have to win that. Like against St Eunice, they won a lot of breaking. Not they didn't win a lot. They won enough breaking ball around the middle of the field to get at the Eunice defence. On Sunday, if Gaoth force them into midfield, what happens if Gaoth dominate the breaking ball? Can they get people in around Ethan O'Donnell and Jack McKelvey? Because they're going to have to target those two lads. Like the Dohertys, we know what the Dohertys bring. But to me, Ethan O'Donnell and Jack McKelvey are the two key players in that team. Jack McKelvey gets on a lot of ball. He can kick scores. Ethan O'Donnell's like a Rolls Royce coming off a break in midfield. But if Gaoth can get the likes of Niall Freendale in there, maybe even Neil McGee in there, aiming at times, and win enough 30 ball themselves, then that blunts their attack a wee bit. But look, going on all evidence, it's hard to make a case for Gaoth, but it's still county final day.
It's not a
they have
pedigree.
Like,
they have enough pedigree to give them a chance. Absolutely, they're not coming in, as no hoppers. Say it was McCool's. Say McCool's had a bet Gaoth. Now you would have talked about Dash and Gallen factor, but you would still say no. On a big day, Naomh Conaill are going to have too much for them. Now the battle, like Kieran Thompson to me is a brilliant player, and 9 times out of 10 he performed on the big day for Naomh Conaill. So the battle between him and McNeilus is going to be fascinating at midfield, because Naomh Conaill aren't afraid to bang it out the middle and back Charles McGuinness and Kieran Thompson to get enough ball or break it. So, but some days,
Kieran Thompson's key. Kieran Thompson won man of the match in the last two finals they won. So as much you need to be targeting your Jack McKelvey's and Ethan, Kieran Thompson's
hammer the hammer. So can McNeilus go up and catch a couple of big balls and give Gaoth a big lift around midfield? A big early on in the game from big kickouts, because he can do it, Charlie. We know what McNeilus is like on his day. He's a fantastic player. So there's been a lot of intriguing battles, Charlie, and as Danny said, it could be more exciting game than we've seen. Now you must remember in 19 in them 3 games, Charlie, they were brilliant games.
Absolutely
they were fantastic games. Like I can't even remember what the score was like, but they weren't out and out defensive. There was great tension, there was great battles, there was great scores.
Penalties, there was red cards, there was turning points.
And let's hear what Martin Regan has to say, because he'll echo a lot of the points you've already made. Martin's been there for those 7 years. Danny's done an incredible job at Naomh Conaill. And what I think about him is he hasn't walked away when they've been defeated. He's come back again. It would have been easier to say, well, I've done my bit for you and all that sort of stuff. Not a man that gets too excited about the whole situation. But anyway, I spoke to him at the press conference last Friday night, and here's what he had to say about the upcoming final.
Here, Martin, wasn't it? Martin, listen, lovely to talk to you again. Just looking back over the performances of Naomh Conaill. I know every year is different and all that sort of thing, but there's been a huge build-up, because there's been knocks along the way as well as joy along the way. But Naomh Conaill just keep on coming and keep on coming. Is there a secret, or if there is, what is it?
Yeah, it's hard work. That's really all it is. And we've a good bunch of lads here at the moment that do work hard and work hard consistently throughout the year, from the start of the year to this week now, leading up to grand final. They're having to improve all the time. That's really the secret. It's just hard work and a bit of luck along the way as well. Plenty of games that, they're fine margins. A lot of games we win, they're all fine margins, and you do need that bit of luck as well to get over the line. But we've got that thankfully in plenty of games too.
And lots of the games you lost have been fine margins as well, and that can be disheartening, Martin. Then when you're looking forward to the next year and trying to get people motivated to do it, you don't seem to have that trouble with that squad you have.
No, look, they're motivated. Any time we do lose, we always feel that Alright, we lost heavy to Gaoth in 2018 and we lost heavily to Unions there a few years ago. But bar that, they are generally in tight margins, whether we win or lose, they're all tight games. And the boys know there's never any much in between the top few teams in Donegal. And you know, when we've lost championships, we know we're never far away, so it's easy to come back and try and right that wrong from the previous year. And likewise, when you win, you know you have to come back and try the same work, otherwise you get left behind.
Yeah. How would you summarise your performances in the league part and in the knockout part so far in the championship?
Very mixed. Very mixed. I don't think we've got a 60-minute performance yet in any game. We played very well in spells in some games. We played poorly in spells. Both looking at the Swally game, started really poorly. Started very poor in that game, likewise the Unions game in Benties. Very poor in the first half, but we regrouped in the second half. Both them games finished well. Kilcar, not a great first half again, but a good second half. Unions the last day, thought we played very well for maybe 30-35 minutes. After the first 5 minutes, shaky in the first 5-10 minutes, played probably our best football of the year for the next 25-30 minutes of that. Finished the game very poorly. We'd be very disappointed in the last 10 minutes of that game. We gave away a lot of ball, coughed up a lot of possession. So because there's improvements to make in any game. We've yet to get a 6-minute performance, but that's what we're going to have to strive to get to this weekend, because that's what we're going to need.
You have to be happy to say that and still be in a county final.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. Look, that's what I'm saying about if we don't get a 6-minute performance next day, we'll be beaten. And we're very lucky in that if you perform poorly against these big teams, you'd be very lucky to get out the right side. And we were against Unions. Unions missed a lot the last day. Probably there was a game maybe we should have lost when you look at what Unions missed. But look at as I said that before, them big games come down to a bit of luck, and we got it the last time.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with you before. I mean, all teams need a balance in terms of experience and younger players coming on. Even your younger players have had a tremendous amount of experience in the last 4 or 5 years. But the older guys, will put it that way, and you know who I'm talking about, Martin, they just seem to go on and on and on and perform at as high a level as you could expect from them.
Yeah, very, very important to them. Not just those playing, but like Marty Boyle there, he's huge for us. Even at training, he wouldn't play as much this year as he had other years, but leadership he shows at training, when chatting to players, it's massive. And it's throughout the squad, all them older players, they offer so much, the younger lads coming through, and it has a knock-on effect then, you know, like Martin McDevitt, boys like that break into the senior panel now, just to look up to them lads, and the middle age brackets, like the Owens and the Unions and Kieran's, them boys as well, they're encouraging them along as well, and because it's important, it's a really happy group service.
And the older guys, I've asked you this before, Martin, but just for the record, what keeps them at it?
I think it's a chance of success. They see a chance of success every year. There's really good young players there to play with. They enjoy playing with them. They get on really well with them. And I suppose look, they're living locally too. It makes a huge difference that they're never far to go. And I suppose they'll be glad to get out of the house the odd evening too. They're into the field as well, more than any of us. But it's a good distraction. Sometimes it's a good distraction. It's the time you get to see your friends really is during the football field. So nobody wants to leave that behind either.
No. And in terms of Gaoth, a great history in the championship here, maybe haven't been performing as we talked about the Ronan over the last few years, but always dangerous opponents when it comes to a final.
Oh, hugely. Look, there's no illusions there. Every time we play Gaoth this last number of years, they've been really close battles to have. Even last year we were kind of hanging on in the semi-final last year, we won by 2 points, but there's 1 or 2 balls in the edge in the square the last minute or two that could have went up the net just as easy, but we wouldn't have made the final last year. So look, we're expecting nothing different. Gaoth in a really good place when you see where the reserves are. Very similar to us last year. That we went into county final day last year with seniors and reserves, and it gives the community a huge boost when you're 2 teams in the final. We would have seen that last year and positive effects of it, and it'll be no different for Gaoth this year. I know that they're basically busting us 2 teams in the county final, so we know we're going for a huge battle, and we'd expect nothing else from Gaoth.
And do you guys your fellas have to set aside what's gone before and just concentrate? This is 2023. This is a county final. We mightn't be in another one for 10 years. You probably will be, but you know, have you looked at it that way? Isolate this from what happened before?
Oh, absolutely. That's all the only focus is on this game. It has been throughout the year. You don't be thinking of championship when you're playing a group game or a quarter final. You're thinking of that game. And our focus since we go over Unions has always been on the Haran for 2 weeks, and that's all we're thinking about. We're not even thinking about a county final or anything like that. There, it's a game of football, and we're looking to get as good performance as we can for 60 minutes.
Happy to take the tag of favourites into it?
Genuinely, it means nothing to us, and I've said that for years. That if you look through the favourites this last couple of years, we were written off last year. Completely written off in the final last year, but we knew within our circle, we knew well we had a chance, we performed, and it's absolutely no different. We played the year previous to that, we were doing as favourites against Unions, and again we knew if we didn't perform, we would get left behind, and it's with the exact same Sunday. Favourites, it means nothing, and Donegal football between them top teams genuinely means nothing. It's who performs on the day, and we're under no illusions to that.
Thanks for your time as always, Martin. Martin Regan.
Martin Regan there, and the interesting thing about it, Danny, is he's saying what's gone's gone.
Yeah.
Sunday's what it's all about now.
If you've been talking to Martin Regan over the years, Charlie, his mantra doesn't change.
No.
And he's the glue that sticks the whole thing together. And what he has done, he has changed his backroom team almost every year, every 2 years. He had Barry Dunyan in there last year. Barry Dunyan's up in Kilcoo with Gar Lacey at the minute. Yeah. But he's brought Gary Boyle in from our own club in there this year. Shane Moran's back there. The lad in from Derry before. So they've always had. Yeah, so his voice doesn't change, but other voices change.
Yeah.
But the one and the greatest trick I think he's carried out with that whole setup is that you can bring a coach in, and that every coach has their own ego, and they might want to put their own slant on the team. But it seems where Martin Regan says, no, or the players have said, this is what we're comfortable doing.
Yeah.
You can come in and coach that, and we'll get better at that. But we're not going to tear up the template completely because we have a new coach in. This is what's got us success over the years. We talked about this last week. You can play any style of football you like as long as you're winning. And the Conaill boys have been winning more than they've been losing. So they will stick to the game plan. So what I was saying earlier on about them coming off the leash, what I mean by that is I don't mean 15 on 15. They're going to play the normal style of football, but I do think they will go, when they get a chance to break hard, I think they will go really hard against Gaoth, whereas against the likes of St Eunice, they might have held one or two lads back for fear of the counter-attack.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the same fear that Gaoth have enough. They'll have 4 or 5 runners, but they won't have 7 or 8 runners. And that might be something to say, let's go with Gaoth. And look, the Conaill have traditionally, and I remember saying this last year, they don't start games as well as you'd think they would. They let teams get ahead, and then they churn them down and eventually get ahead. And once they're ahead, they finish out the game. But if they chase Gaoth early and try and get a 3 or 4 point lead, then Gaoth are in for a tough afternoon. It's vital for Gaoth to get ahead of New Conaill and try. And that's what I'm saying. Is it on their terms or is it on New Conaill's terms? But getting a lead against them is very, very difficult because they will sit in and they'll have the man markers. Like we're saying, that Gaoth have to target X, Y, and Z. New Conaill will have their homework done. So it'll be probably AJ or Campbell picking up Eamon McGee inside. Ethan Harkin's going to be man marked. Or McNeilis is going to have somebody on him. Yeah. Darrow Beale's going to have probably one of the Dohertys on him. So as much as Gaoth have strengths coming into the game, New Conaill aren't allowed those strengths to go without being targeted. Niall Friel at half-back will have a runner on him. So you're needing a lot of things to go right for Gaoth. And the main thing probably is that New Conaill have an off day.
Yeah.
But coming back to that, right, Danny says, and all teams will say this here, we've got the man markers, or this is who our matchup is. But I know from chatting to the St Eunice boys, some of our boys were detailed to mark some of the Glenties boys, and then the Glenties boys have boys to detail to mark O'Donnell's.
And because of cat and mouse.
It does. But it comes down to the end, Danny, on the day, I said this last week, Jerry, you asked me about the county final, who's going to step up? Like, all right, AJ Gallagher's going to mark Eamon McGee, so what? Is Eamon McGee going to say, well, good luck, AJ, I'm going to clean you today. Just because AJ Gallagher's marking him doesn't mean to say that Eamon McGee can't touch the ball. Or does Jack McKelvey say, Niall Freed's going to mark me? Oh, I can't do anything today because Niall Freed. Someone. But that's when then, Terry, the experience comes into it. Some man says, well, there's a county final day. I'm not afraid of this. This is the biggest day of the year. I'm going to perform here. Give me the ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you on.
That goes back to the point.
So, we can talk about matchups all day, but then it is who goes out and performs in the big. When the ball's there to be won, Terry, who's going to win it? Who's going to kick the scores under pressure? Who's going to block? And the evidence would say Naomh Conaill have more experience of doing that on the big day than Gaoth. They've been there a lot more days, than Gaoth. But Gaoth have enough quality to say on the day they can beat anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the key when we started talking about this. The Gaoth have pedigree. I mean, they're also champions 4 years ago. There's still 6 or 7 or 8 of them still on the pitch. It depends then how you see the younger lads on the team. You're like there's a young lad there, number 2, who's brilliant. The semi-final, Ada Branha. Ethan Harkin's still relatively young. Dol McBride, big player, relatively young. If those big players stand up and have a huge game, and then your more experienced players feed off that, then you're in the game at that stage. And then I agree with John. It's like any game of football. What Gaoth will bring to this game will be a lack of fear. Gaoth won't be scared of losing because they weren't expected to be in this position.
No.
Right? So I'm not saying New Conaill will be scared of losing. They won't. They're too experienced. Emotion won't come into it for them. There will be no emotion. It'll be another game, another process, a job to be done.
Yeah.
Right? So the onus is on Gaoth, I think, to bring something to the game, to unsettle Naomh Conaill, to get them out of their rhythm, to maybe get ahead of them, maybe get stuck on them. I know Naomh Conaill are physical and can take all that. They've seen it all before.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Gaoth can't go into McCool Park on Sunday and be passive and allow Naomh Conaill to dictate the game like they do most games. Yeah. So the challenge is for Gaoth, with no pressure on them. What can they bring on Sunday? And they could bring everything, Charlie, and still come up short against this Naomh Conaill team.
Okay. Well, Francie's the man down in Gaoth, Francie and McNeil, so we're expecting big things from Francie. We've given him plenty of stick over the years. Give up his job here. So, in fairness, Francie's out there when we're sitting here. So, if Francie
can bring his head on the,
Francie can bring something special to the table on Sunday, we'll give him full credit.
Right. That's just the Senior B final, by the way, 1:45, Gaoth versus Airua. I've had interviews with both team managers, Donal Ivers of Gaoth and Brian Gillespie of Airua. You'll be able to see them on Donegal Daily Facebook as well in the next coming days, and also Neil McGee representing Gaoth and Oran Darley representing Naomh Conaill. Those interviews up, and of course we're delighted to get those interviews with the two managers. Right, boys, Danny, call it.
You'll be absolutely, John might go for Naomh Conaill, but you'd be foolish to go for them based on all the evidence, Charlie. They are the best team we've seen, 7 finals in a row. They've beaten all the big teams to get here. They've all the experience. They've all the guile. They've knocked out St Eunice in the semi-final. They've been there, done that with the experienced backroom team, management team. It's them all day long. But I do expect Gaoth to put up a huge battle. I do expect this to be a good county final. I think it might follow the theme of the season we've had, where teams are being braver. They're not going just to lose a county final by 3-4 points and be proud of their performance. I think Gaoth will throw everything at it. And I hope we get a good county final. But if Naomh Conaill come off their game, which we've seen this before in previous county finals, if they don't perform, then Gaoth are the team that can take them. But based on everything, Naomh Conaill.
Oh, John.
But Charlie, I've said all along from the start that the only team that could beat Naomh Conaill was St Eunice, and the only team that could beat St Eunice was Naomh Conaill. So on that's my answer all year, and so that means that I can't see anyone beating Naomh Conaill.
Okay.
So Naomh Conaill for
both of you going for Naomh Conaill?
Yeah.
All right then. There you have it. It's usually one each here, but it's a 2-0 victory today for Naomh Conaill.
They'll be playing that as they go out the dressing room door.
I'm sure they will.
McCool Park for the Gaoth boys.
That's what Gaoth will want. Gaoth will be happy.
Aye, for sure. Yeah. Right, lads, thanks for that. And thanks to Tommy here at Full Tilt Studios for looking after us yet again. Just to remind you that we're sponsored by Naomh Construction Company in Boston, Massachusetts. Paul Friel, the main man there, an Underage GAA man, and we really appreciate their support. Keep an eye on the website for those interviews, some interesting stuff from the players and from the managers, as you've just heard at that press conference last week. But it's a big weekend ahead. We'll be back next week for our final podcast of the year to reflect back on what happened on Sunday. Maybe have a quick look forward to the Ulster Club Championships and maybe discuss the Donegal situation. Just before we go, lads, we've heard this afternoon that Fergus McGee has told the executive that he's stepping down as chairman of the county board. John, surprised to hear that?
Very surprised, Cherry. Fergus is a quiet man, but a capable man, and he had a lot on his plate, Cherry, when he came in, and maybe that's something to do with it. I think he had a third year, but from my point of view, Fergus did all the hard work. He got the review sorted out. He got Jim McGuinness back as manager, which was the main thing, Cherry, and that's just put everyone on the front foot, and everyone's in good form about Donegal GAA. So I think, brilliant work by Fergus, and I'm disappointed that he's stepping down. I think he might have mentioned family reasons too, and just the magnitude of the job. But as if his legacy is that he's reappointed Jim McGuinness in his first year and got the review done, I think fair play to him, and we owe him a debt of gratitude, because what he did put in this year, and to get Jim McGuinness back as manager I'd say wasn't easy, but they got it done. Him and his committee, but Fergus is the chairman, and the buck stops with the chairman. And absolutely. We've seen the fiasco that happened last year, so he had a big job to do, and he did it. So I'm disappointed, because I think he's the hard work done, and he'd have full backing. He'd have full backing from a lot of I don't think anyone would be looking for Fergus McGee's head after the brilliant job he did after 1 year. So I'm disappointed for him, but if it's what Fergus wants, listen, Donegal GAA owes him a lot of gratitude for what he did this year.
Yeah, surprised to hear it, Danny, were you?
Yeah, I was very surprised to hear it, Charlie. I got to know Fergus in recent times. He's a proud Loughnure man as well, one of our down my own parish. And I think Fergus, when he came into that job, there was a lot of stuff going on, Charlie. I mean, it was
horrendous.
I mean, in the last 12 months, I don't remember a time like it in Donegal GAA. It was the most traumatic time. There was so much going on. And Fergus was the figurehead
People
at that
had
time.
lost hope, Danny, hadn't they?
Lost hope, and there was a lot of stuff going on, Charlie, beyond
Yeah.
that as well. And like Fergus was thrown in there at the deep end of the time, and he had it tough, no doubt. He had it tough in the early months, but I mean, the measure of his tenure, if it is only 1 year, is that he has steadied the ship. He's got, as John says, the reviews in place. Croke Park. I mean, for any chairman to have to go to Croke Park and say, "Come on in, boys, we need your help," that takes a bit of brave. You have to be brave to do that.
Yeah.
And then the appointment of Jim McGuinness, as we know, and look, there's things going on that we're not privy to at all in the county board. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be sorted out. We all know that, and it's a pity for me that Fergus might be the head that rules, because I think he has steadied the ship. But it probably shows you, Charlie, the magnitude of the job, and if it does affect your personal life and it does affect your family life, then you have to get out of it for the sake of your family and the sake of your own mental health and everything else. Clear your head,
And one thing about Fergus McGee, Charlie, and people that know him will say that he's a man of integrity.
100%.
And for him to take in Croke Park, but that would be Fergus. He would do things right. He'd want things done right. Doesn't matter if Croke Park have to come in. And people from Tyrone, I gave a slag on Twitter about people from Tyrone County Board coming in to tell us what to do. But that was only tongue in cheek. But Fergus McGee, a man of integrity, and he would do what's right for Donegal and what needs.
And I do think, Charlie, if we do turn the corner, say at senior football level with Jim in charge, there'll be another chairman probably in there now in the next couple of years that'll bear the fruits of that.
Yeah.
But need to be remembered that it was an appointment came under Fergus McGee's tenure,
Absolutely.
even if it was only for 1 year.
Yeah. Always a gentleman, Fergus. We wish him well, and hopefully he'll get all the support that he needs at this difficult time. A difficult decision for him to make, but if it's the right one for him, good luck to him. That's it. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back for our final podcast of 2023 next week, and we'll have new champions. And I'm being careful what I say here. We'll have new champions for 2023. And if Naomh Conaill, of course, retain the title, we won't have new champions. But anyway, we'll look forward to the game on Sunday. If the action's half as good this weekend as it was last weekend with the junior and intermediate finals, I think we'll all be very happy sitting here next week. Take care. The Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast.